entertainmentbuddha.com.
Everyone, welcome back to a special episode of Thrones Time with your buddies Matt, Nick, and Keith. Why is it special? Well, it's because we're kind of on hiatus because the show isn't back for its A season yet, and it will not be back for its A season until 2019. I believe, guys, was it April 2019? Didn't we get a window date from that like last week or... No, maybe that was a false leak. Someone said that like Maisie Williams released the release date, and then she said she didn't. But whatever. All we do know is that we're not getting season 8 until 2019. So why do we have the mics on right now? You may be asking yourself if you're listening. Well, the show has gone into production, mostly over in the Eastern Bloc of Europe. And there's been some leaks coming out. And last week there was a pretty big leak. And that's kind of what spurned this little special Thrones Time episode. Because it was a major leak. It's one that if you're trying to avoid all Game of Thrones Season 8 leaks, you should probably just turn this episode off right now. We appreciate you for trying. But we don't want to spoil it for you because it is a pretty big one. So guys, I guess welcome back to Thrones Time. It's nice to talk to you gents again. And I wish we were talking about... the season upcoming in 2018, but that's just not the case. So how's it been since the last time we talked some Thrones?
Full of impatient waiting, basically. At least on my end.
It does kind of suck. I mean...
Yeah, because right now it's the beginning of February, and usually we're gearing up like, all right, a couple more months till Game of Thrones, all right, and now it's like
we might have seen a trailer by now, or we might have seen like a featurette on the making of the season, but nothing. I mean, I don't think we'll get much of anything in 2018. You're for damn sure we're not going to get the 6th book in the written franchise because
we might
I'm pretty
never
sure
get
at this point. I think he's just done. Like, I don't even think he's trying to write anymore. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, his tweets are all about all this random shit that he's getting into. So I think he's pretty much given up on finishing the books and just like, hey, David and DB, you guys, hey, you just finish it for me. I don't give a shit. What about you, Keith? I mean, are you going to make it through this hiatus?
I don't know, man. Finally, like, really, really understanding what that whole long night deal was all about. It's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, is this wait ever gonna end?
Yeah, it's a rough one. I mean, I guess we can sit there and be like, well, we're gonna get a Westworld from HBO in 2018, which is nice. I mean, I don't know if you guys got into that show, but I think it was pretty fantastic. But yeah, no Thrones. I mean, luckily you got Netflix that's taking risks on all these long form shows like Altered Carbon. The Cloverfield surprise. So, I mean, we do have some entertainment to kind of fill our geeky brains until 2019. But for now, anything Thrones we talk about is mostly going to be from leaks we get from a production, or if HBO chooses to spoon feed us some curated material. So, back to the reason why we are firing up the mics for Thrones Time tonight. Last week, like I said, show's in production, and it's probably been in production for a few months. They usually wait until the winter now because, hey, winter has came, as we saw in Season 7, so they need things to be as frigid-looking as possible in a lot of the areas they're shooting in. So, guys, last week we got this video, and we got images of a leak of a nighttime shoot that was taking place at the Winterfell set. And how impressive is that fucking set? First of all, I don't know if you've like looked at the pictures in depth, but I mean they essentially built the whole front facade of Winterfell in Bjork, Sweden, or wherever the hell they're shooting this. But I mean that's a pretty heavy investment by HBO.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's like you mentioned in your post when you wrote it up, is this true fire? Is this going to be CGI'd into, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but what exactly is the cause of this, and why do we have to wait till 2019 to find out?
Right. So as Nick teased right there, I mean, the reason this nighttime shoot has made the leak rounds, the rumor rounds, is because it showcases Winterfell engulfed in flames. I'm not talking like it's under siege and there's just some fires and the castle's going to be okay. I mean, it is engorged. It could be, I'm saying it's like Harrenhal level torching. So obviously, fans like us, we start our speculations and our guesses of what may have happened. And there's really, I guess, 3 main theories going around right now. So I think that's kind of what we'll tackle. First theory is it's clearly the Night King has landed and he's burnt the living shit out of it. A lot of people are like, well, the flames are orange. Well, guess what? The flames have been orange in every Game of Thrones shoot, and there's something called computers that can make it change colors. Because we know that what's his dragon is Viserion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we know his dragon shoots blue flame. I mean, we saw that at the end of 7. It burns blue. So clearly, if Winterfell burning is from the Night King, we should see blue flames. We don't have blue flames in real life, therefore we didn't see blue flames in this leak. But still, the way that the castle is burning, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think this is at the hands of a dragon, be it the Night King's or maybe even Dany's? Because that's the second theory, is that Dany learns the truth about Jon and she doesn't take it well, so she takes it out on Winterfell with her 2 normal orange-colored fire-breathing dragons. Or the last one is, some people think Cersei has snuck up some wildfire and just burnt the shit out of it anyways.
But then wouldn't that be green flame?
Exactly.
So we'd still have some CGI.
Right. So, I mean, clearly we're not going to have colored flames. So we don't know for sure if it's the Night King, Dany's dragons, or Cersei. Out of those 3 guys, which one do you think is the most likely?
I feel like the Night King is the easiest choice. Just because, we ended season 7 with him burning down the wall and the army of the dead coming through, and I don't know, it just seems too easy to just say, oh yeah, northernmost human stronghold. There's
a few before Winterfell, because I actually the funny thing is back in October, I did a post essentially speculating which northern homes will fall first to the Night King.
Okay.
Because if you look on a map, technically he would be crossing through, and I'm not looking at it right now, but I think maybe the Umber territory. There are at least 1 or 2 main northern households that he would be coming across first. But like you said, I mean, and it is the TV show, and it is a shortened season. So they're probably not going to be farting around with houses that haven't gotten a mention or aren't big. So, like he said, the most obvious and the easiest guess is that, the Night King just makes it to Winterfell. He knows Bran's there, who's not Bran. He's a 3-eyed raven, and then he just torches the shit out of it. But like Keith said, and we know how Game of Thrones plays, sometimes the most obvious choice is the least likely choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think, Nick? I mean, do you think this is the work of the Night King or something, maybe an inside job, something more sinister?
I mean, realistically speaking, like he said, the most obvious and easiest answer is the Night King. Just from, they're coming from, they already broke through the wall. They're coming down towards the south. Like you said, they'll probably hit a couple other territories, other castles. I mean, do we have... I'm just kind of curious, because I was thinking about what is at Winterfell. So obviously there's Bran, Sansa, Arya's there. And then how many houses or how many, how big is their army that they have? Do you guys remember roughly how many?
I think at
like
this
a couple
point,
thousand or...
Yeah, they've regained most of the north, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they didn't kill the Umber kids for revolting. Remember, Sansa made a big deal when Jon pardoned them and said, no, you guys should retain your homes and this, that, and the other thing. So I believe they have most of the northern army. Now what is left of that after all the battles and whatnot, I don't know. But yeah, I think I don't know how many are within the walls. Clearly, the entire army can't be within the walls,
Right.
but I'd say there's a fair amount of important people stationed at Winterfell right now.
Right. So you got to.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say. So you got to think about that too. Like, obviously, Sansa, Arya, Bran know that whatever army they have right there in or surrounding Winterfell isn't gonna be able to put a dent into the Night King's army. So do they hightail and run out and just let the Night King destroy it? Do they do something themselves where I think if we're going kind of on the crazy route, maybe they themselves set Winterfell on fire as a way of like, you know what, we're not going to let anybody tear it down. We're going to basically tear it down ourselves kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know really what the point would be for that, but
I could see your other point where they're just like, hey, we've seen what he's already done to the other northern homes. We have no chance. Let's fall back. You know, maybe they feel like the warmer they get, the better chances they'll have. I don't know, but yeah, the way that the set looked, it doesn't look like too many people could have survived this fire. I mean, again, this isn't just a wall burning. This is the inside and out of Winterfell cooking. Like, this is a death nail in the castle. Like, the castle is done.
Yeah, so I guess the other thing to think about too is if we go the route or the thinking that it's Dany and her dragons, obviously the reason for her doing that would be she found out about Jon's heritage, about his claim to the throne is better than hers. But what does her burning down Winterfell do other than, you know, spread rage? Like,
nothing at all.
Yeah.
And that's why I was kind of like,
because if Jon's claim is better, but if he's like, you know what, I would rather have Winterfell and be king of the North, then he, you know, why burn that down? But I don't know.
It makes complete
I just don't
sense.
see that.
I was just, you know, I'm just kind of recapping some thoughts I've seen from fans spitballing like us. And it would be odd. It would just be out of spite. You know, it'd just be literally her finally becoming her father. Right? Where she's just so incensed that she's not going to get the castle or something. She just goes nuts. And yeah,
which would make for an interesting dynamic against. So then it becomes, you know, we end season 7 with Dany and Jon hooking up, and then season 8, you know, if this happens, if this plays out this way, they're basically squaring off against each other now, you know,
right,
in a lover's quarrel.
And a lot of people, you know, when they at the end of that excellent ending episode of 7, where they finally do hook up, and we also finally get confirmation from Bran that Jon is a Targaryen, and he's a legitimate Targaryen because his parents were actually married. A lot of people are like, "Oh man, this could be horrible. How are they going to deal with it?" I've always been of the mindset that, you know, Dany likes her titles, and she's had this mission, and she's stuck to the mission. But I also feel like deep down she is a righteous woman, right? I mean, she is the breaker of chains. So I think if the case is made to her and it's proved to her, I don't really see Dany going postal over the revelation that Jon is actually the real king and she is not.
Yeah, especially considering pretty much her entire argument is built around her being the rightful queen.
Yeah, her right. So she believes in rights. So she believes in you know, who is supposed to be king after the passing of the previous king. She believes in that system. So like he said, I see her supporting his claim as long as she gets the proof she requires. Now, how is she going to get that when they're not with Bran, right? I mean, Bran's hanging out in Winterfell. He's not even Bran. I mean, he's three-eyed Raven, zombie boy. So I do think she'll require some sort of concrete proof somehow until she fully accepts it. But even then, I don't see her immediately going, "I fucking hate you. I'm going to kill you."
Yeah, and I mean, but then if you think about it that way, if she's like, "Oh, okay, there's proof. I'm going to step aside, and you can be ruler of the Seven Kingdoms now." I find that hard to believe because she's going to have to look back at the Dothraki. All the
she
stuff
brings a lot to the table.
Yeah, all the stuff that happened, and yeah, it's just I don't see her stepping aside that
so
easily. I guess if that is the case.
Well, again, she just has to look at her family's tradition they're ancestral, so just keep loving them, and there you go. Get married, and you're doing what Targaryens are supposed to do anyways.
Right.
So it's weird. I mean, it's weird stuff to think about. I mean, just because of the family dynamics, but also deep down we know. I mean, Jon is probably the most pure of heart in Game of Thrones. Would you agree? In terms of out of all the main characters,
Yeah, to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. Like it's gotten him killed, literally. Trying to do the right thing, and I think Dany is close behind him. I mean, she has more of an entitlement aspect to her, because that's just, again, that's the system they lived in. That's the monarchy flow. She was born and raised having it beat in her head. You're the rightful heir. This is yours. It's all yours. They stole it from you. You should have a chip on your shoulder. Rah, 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 rah. But we've seen her and her struggles. She always does the right thing, typically, right? I mean, she really hasn't done anything rash or something that wasn't warranted to the party that she inflicted pain on. I mean, even when she was in Meereen, I mean, she gave the masters choices and chances, and after they kept screwing her over, and then they finally tried to attack Meereen, she's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. Here come the dragons. You're all going to fucking burn. Now you understand that I'm talking business, right? But she didn't do that right away. And then we've heard Tyrion kind of beating in her head. Don't be your father. Don't just burn people. We saw a little bit of it in 7 when she got the retribution on the Tarly boys.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, they crossed their paths, and she gave them a choice.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
Yeah, we talked in our casts last season about how even though she is rather unduly harsh, she is fair.
Yeah, and deep down, I just don't see her being an evil type of character, which is why I can't see her retaliating against Winterfell and trying to take it down and burn it to a crisp. I don't. I mean, like he said, and we'll probably all be fooled, it has to be the Night King. I mean, the other scenario of Cersei toting up wildfire, I mean, that's probably the second one that makes the most sense. I think Dany burning it down makes the least amount of sense.
Yeah.
But Cersei doing something, clearly we know she's plotting against those two.
Right.
I mean, she told that to Jaime at the end of 7, basically said, oh, yeah, that was just a dog and pony. I can't believe you fell for it, too. Ha ha, you're so dumb. And he's like, okay, you've completely lost it. You've even lost me at this point. I'm out. So totally, Cersei, she's got the things going on with the Golden Company. I mean, all that's going to come to fruition eventually. So I could see her betraying. But the level of fire, I mean, it would have to be the wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you strategically place that all around Winterfell? Even that just doesn't make sense. So I think we kind of have to run with, more than likely, it's the Night King.
Yeah, I mean, going with Cersei's theory here, I could kind of see that, because if Jon thinks that he and Cersei's armies are going to team up and head to the north like she told him she would, obviously she's not going to. Where does that leave the people at Winterfell as far as who's there to guard it? Probably very, very minimal. So she could definitely take that opportunity to say, oh, by the way, I'm going to scoot over here real quick, set your home on fire, and then pull my army back out and not help you at all. So, it's definitely, something she could do. But I'm curious to see how much wildfire she has left, because it seemed like there was an awful lot of it that got used when they blew up the Sept.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so
and that's kind of what other commenters were making. Like, do you really think she has any left? Because she basically torched a whole city block of King's Landing with it.
Yeah.
Even when we saw, Homeboy down there with the little kid, I mean, the walls were lined with it.
Right.
And that was even after Tyrion used a whole mess during Battle of Blackwater.
Right, and
Right.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Mad King had already strategically had wildfire placed throughout the city, so there could still be major landmark buildings with wildfire caches in them. I mean, because that was his grand plan before Jaime did the right thing and took him out. I mean, he knew he was losing. He was just going to burn the whole fucking thing down.
Right. Right.
And it is, hey, it's the show, it's a book. If they want to find more wildfire, they'll find it.
They'll just go to the store, go to Flea Bottom, and pick some up at the market.
Yeah, they'll get a maester, a rogue maester to whip some up. Qyburn, that guy's always in the shady stuff, so I'm sure he could cook up a concoction of wildfire. So I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder how bummed out they were that they just couldn't protect that shoot that night. I mean, because clearly it's a pretty major moment. If anything, even if it turns out to just be, Winterfell fell, but no one really perished, that's still a pretty major moment for the series, considering Winterfell is, home of the Starks. It's where the Warden of the North resides. I mean, it's probably the most iconic castle outside of King's Landing in the Game of Thrones series. So I wonder, if a lot of the HBO people were just like, hey, fuck it, this is going to get out, there's nothing we can do, or if they tried their best and they're still like, fuck.
Yeah, and I mean, when I think of Winterfell, I think of the start of the show itself.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
obviously, have that initial cold opening where the guys are out ranging, but it's Ned who finds, the traitor, or the... a banner or whatever I forget the exact term.
Deserter.
But deserter, there we go. Who finds him, then obviously that's where they find the direwolves, then we're taken to King's Landing, and, that's our establishing shot of, our first castle in Game of Thrones, our first, family.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a legit landmark. It's huge. It's going to be a big moment. Just wish we knew exactly why those damn flames were there. But hey, that's why we watched the show, right?
Yep.
So the next thing that I wouldn't even call this a leak. This is just some generalizations from the cast, and I believe Peter Dinklage has chimed in on this. And in particular, there's an article from Mashable with Lena Headey. Is it Headey?
Headey.
Headey.
Lena Headey, who plays Cersei, where it's just a real brief article, and she's talking about how when the cast all got together to do the Season 8 table read, and if you're not familiar, a lot of times ensemble casts will get together, sit around the table, and literally either read through the entire movie together as their characters, or a TV show, they'll do the same thing. But she was telling Mashable that during their read of Season 8, they got to one particular part of the script, and the entire room started to cry. I mean, here's her exact quote is, "I can tell you that we had a giant read-through with all the cast in October, and I think pretty much everybody cried at one point, and it was pretty surprising." So,
yeah.
and I believe, and we've heard that the ending's going to be bittersweet anyways, and I believe Peter Dinklage also mentioned that there's one of the saddest moments he's ever experienced, witnessed, whatever, in anything in Game of Thrones Season 8, so this could be the same one, but the fact that the entire cast teared up over this moment, what the hell do you think it could be?
No. Everybody dies.
I think that's just expected, but I mean...
Dragons rule the world.
I guess you got to think, because, I mean, they're kind of in their character parts during these table reads, so I don't know if, they're doing their actor thing, and they're in the role of the character, and they're still crying. That makes it even more impressive, because, imagine if it's... Cersei dying, and you have Jon Snow crying, and you have Dany crying. They're real life counterparts. I don't know, man. I mean, who could elicit this type of reaction from a room full of actors?
I don't even know where to begin.
The
interesting thing I think of is that they actually got the entire Season 8 script, because at least for Season 7, from what they mentioned, they were only getting 1 or 2 scripts at a time to avoid potential leaks and that sort of thing. But I think stuff even still got leaked out. So I think it's pretty interesting that they were actually given the entire Season 8. But yeah, I'm
trying to think, because
I mean, the whole story, the books, the show, John is, and George Martin even has said this, is that John is the guy. He's the one, sole center of this book, this story, this fantasy.
But is he Azor Ahai?
Right. Does he live at the end? Does he die at the end? I mean, the way they make it sounds like, you know, the worst possible thing that you can think of is going to happen. So what is that worst possible thing?
He's already died, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Well,
lost
sure.
Jon Snow for a whole season, and you know, some people that hadn't read the book still isn't out, so you don't know if he lives in the books, but I'm assuming he does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's already been killed, so I don't know if Jon Snow dying again would elicit the entire cast to lose it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we
Could it
already
Could it be Dany, more dragons, Bran, Arya, Sansa,
I feel like it would be Sansa or Arya.
like
That
doing
would-
something
that-
super heroic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or what
Man.
about Tyrion doing something super heroic?
Yeah, I feel like there's. I mean, obviously he's a major player in this. I get the feeling that he's not going to be there at the end. And I think
Yeah.
we talked about this last season. I think, you know, he might have died at the end of last season when we did our preseason predictions or whatever it was. But yeah, that's so tough to figure out because there's so many good ones. But you don't know what would elicit that reaction, or maybe it's not who died, but how they died, or
Yeah.
See,
you know,
I think
it's-
you hit it right on the head. I don't think it's particularly someone dies. I think we all know a lot of the main characters are probably going to be dead. I think you're right. I think it's going to be the manner in how they die. Like I said, I think it's going to be a very deep sacrifice type of deal. To allow others to live, to vanquish all the evil, this, that, or the other thing. I mean, that may even be too cheesy. I don't know. I mean, but I do think it will be the act of the person dying is what is going to elicit the emotions versus just the person dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where you start thinking, okay, is Jaime actually going to be the one to kill Cersei?
Oh, you know what? That
Is you know how does that happen? Do they have a moment of empathy for each other, or where they just become completely vulnerable, and then he's like, you know what, I still have to go through with this? You know, maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, he's a very good choice. I think Jaime's in the top 5. I think you have to throw in the Stark kids just because you know they're the de facto good guys, and Tyrion. I mean, I can't really think of anyone else that would. For me, the dragons. I mean, I always get upset when animals get taken down, but
I'll be upset when the Hound dies. I'll be really upset when the Hound dies.
Yeah, but I think it's more going to be he was a good guy, he was a funny character, and not like. Man.
He's had such a change over the course of the series, though. Like
that's why
it's huge. Yeah,
he sticks out to me, is because he's gone from just this like background generic evil henchman to probably having some of the most development of any character on the show.
Right.
And he could swing an axe better than anybody.
Yeah. He really likes chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are kind of warming me up to the Hound. I mean, I like the character. I just don't know, like, if he would have a really sad death. I think he'd have a glorious death more than anything.
Right.
You know, like one where he takes out his brother, like a boss, or they take each other out.
See,
I just
thinking-
feel like their showdown's inevitable, especially because they teased it in the end of season 7.
Sure.
I mean, he essentially didn't he call him out more or less.
Yeah. Yeah. He said something like something's coming for you, or someone's coming for you.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
something
he
like that.
specifically addresses his dead brother. I mean,
Right.
They made that pretty clear. And Clegane Bowl has always been a fan one, so
Yeah.
you know we got the Dany and Jon, we got the Jon as Targaryen, so they do pay off on some of the fan ones, but I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting that she said it that way in the manner she said it.
Does that make you think for maybe a second that the Night King wins?
I don't know.
No, only because the show writers and Martin himself has says that it has a bittersweet ending. So to me, that negates the bad guy winning.
That negates total human destruction.
Right. A little. I mean, bittersweet. It's not as good as sweet. It's not as bad as bitter, but it's also not as bad as literally apocalypse.
What if the Night King taking the Iron Throne kind of releases the spell he's under and makes him human again?
You could also see
weird like
Bran essentially doing something to vanquish the Night King, but at the same time, it makes him the next Night King.
Oh, and that would feed into the theory that came out last year that Bran is the Night King.
Right.
Yeah, I could kind of see that, I guess.
I just feel like a bit, generalizing the ending as bittersweet means that it's gonna go to the good guys, but at a very high cost.
Yeah, back in season 4, I think Tyrion gave us kind of the key to the whole show when he told Oberyn, "If you want justice, you've come to the wrong place." Like,
yeah,
if we want justice as Game of Thrones viewers, we've come to the wrong place. Like, we're not going to get it. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
as we learned season 1 when as we learned season 1 when Ned's head got cut off at the end.
Yeah.
Nobody who
I
didn't
still
read
remember
the books
that. I mean, my jaw hit the floor because I had no spoilers, never read the books. I didn't even know what the fuck Game of Thrones was. I just heard there was a huge buzz in 2010 around them. Like, I got to check this out. And I'm watching the first season. I'm like, okay, yeah, these Stark guys, these are going to be like the main characters, the good guys. The Lannisters are going to be the bad guys. And then I'm like halfway through, I'm like, holy shit. The good guy, like the hero guy, he's already been captured. What the fuck? And then you hit episode 9 and what the fuck? They just chopped his head off. It's like, what type of show is this? How do you? And then that's what got me reading the books, and then I read the Red Wedding, and like my eyes are falling out of my head. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, how does this even exist? How can you kill the good guys left and right and let the bad guys keep winning? And that's the brilliance of A Song of Ice and Fire. That's why I wish the motherfucker would just get the damn books done. Because I don't like to read, but I like to read those books.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, 8's going to be, I think every episode's probably going to have a gut punch moment, do you not?
Yeah, especially because, if reports are true, each episode's going to be like an hour and a half long or so.
And we're only getting 6, right?
6 episodes, yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
So this is even shorter than 7, correct? Or was 7?
Season 7 had 7 episodes.
7,
yeah.
So it's one shorter.
Total runtime, it'll probably be longer than 7. But
7 had the longest episode runtime of any season, but I think season 6 or season 8 is going to have more than that for every episode.
I've never been a fan of the shortened seasons. I mean, I think last year, a lot of fans have basically said last year in terms of true storytelling that is probably the worst year because of the major plot holes with the time skipping and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of fans are like, just take your time. And hey, guys, they're not taking their time. They're doing 6 fucking episodes. So,
well, and it was such an adjustment too when you spend the first 6 seasons going at kind of a snail's pace, and then season 7, all of a sudden things are flying, like literally flying, and Sam's traveling by horse from the Citadel to Winterfell, in a single episode. It was just, I think, at least for me, it was hard to adjust to that. But like once I got over it, I was like, all right, let's just watch this. And
yeah, I still think we got some great story moments.
Yeah.
It was just we weren't used to that pace. We were used to more development and build up. We're just like fast forward. Blah, blah, blah. That the graphic still is the best, where it shows Jon Snow's movements from Hardhome Battle compared to the Night King.
Yeah, he's all over the map.
And they're like, by the way, the Night King doesn't have to eat, sleep, rest, nothing.
Right.
And he's gone like a millimeter on the map, where Jon Snow has literally traveled the globe. Hey, that's TV for you, right?
Sure is.
That is TV. Okay, so the last little deal, Nick just cooked this one up. It's another leak. It's a photo leak, and it's a shot of Jon Snow and Cersei at the King's Landing set. So the interesting thing here is that these two are together in King's Landing. And before the mics went hot, we were kind of breaking down the timeline. I mean, season 7 ends with Jon and Dany heading north to begin the battle against the Night King, now that everyone finally believes Jon, with Cersei staying back in King's Landing, winking to them, oh yeah, I'll come and fight with you, but we know she's essentially planning to screw them over. So now we see these shots, clearly Jon Snow, Cersei are there. It's the King's Landing set because this is in Dubrovnik, and that's where they've done all the King's Landing, and that the people here, they're at King's Landing, the people that took the shots. So I guess, guys, does this imply that these two, or at least Jon, survives whatever happens in the north and makes his way back to King's Landing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously they started filming. We don't know which, where they start filming, if they start from the very beginning and work to the end, or if they're like some movies where they start in the middle, film there, film a couple other places, that sort of thing. But, obviously
either way,
just
I know I know what you're saying, but in the timeline of the show, these characters are not in the same location.
Right. Yeah, so I think so right now, since we got talking about Winterfell and the pictures of it burning, I'm trying to think, okay, are they meeting at King's Landing after Winterfell burned, or was this before? But yeah, like, and that makes you wonder what happens to the north. So obviously, we just don't know. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's
a revealing shot, just for the fact that they're in King's Landing. You can only see Jon, you can only see Cersei, and just based on where we know the characters were at the end of 7, it implies that something happens to where these two end up in King's Landing again together.
Yeah, do you think, I mean, my initial guess would be Jon and Dany head to the north, they realize, or Jaime meets up with them, tells them Cersei's not coming, they hightail it out of there, realizing that she double-crossed them, basically. And my guess is this might be the time when he confronts her to try and, figure out what she's doing, why she's doing it, and how to, take care of the problem. That's my gut reaction to this.
It's odd. I mean, when you shared the link and I pulled it up, I'm like, this is very, very curious.
Jon's wearing his northern clothes. His.
I mean, to me, it almost looks like they're doing deleted scenes for season 7 Blu-ray. You know what I mean? I mean, I just can't get the timeline to work out in my head as to how these two end up together and they're not choking each other.
Right.
It's even they're all Cersei's guards are still there too. I mean, Jon looks like he's there by himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the photos are really just through a small window.
Yeah, so it's tough. You're just
we see
looking through a
Jon,
window,
we see Cersei, we see one of the showrunners kind of positioning Cersei to stand a certain way, but there's not much else as far as what's going on or who's involved in the shot. But yeah, I mean, just to have Jon and Cersei in one location together without
it's mind-boggling to me because I figured early in season 8, the jig is going to be up. They're going to figure out her plans, or even if they don't, she's still going to try and fuck him over. Hell, maybe she does go up north and sees the Night King finally, and she's like, okay, now I believe him. Now we're all screwed anyway, so I might as well. Which I highly doubt, because she pretty much told Jaime, like, I don't care if let the Night King kill them all anyways. That makes my job easier. It gets rid of them, and then I just have to worry about the Night King. I don't know. It's an odd shot. Not odd in the way it looks. It's just my brain cannot rationalize how these two are together in King's Landing again.
I mean, Jon's been very diplomatic, especially towards Cersei, because he knows how much he needs her army. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's, biting his tongue and restraining himself to try and understand perhaps her plan or what she wants. Maybe she's using it as leverage to get Jon to further, I don't know, give her something or do something for her in the future. They already had that quote-unquote agreement before, so I don't know what else she wants from him. But, it might just be that scene where they're kind of talking it out and, they're staring at each other with daggers trying to avoid, lashing out and strangling each other.
Or maybe he's coming down to be like, by the way, Cersei, my name's actually Aegon Targaryen. So you should probably just screw off.
That's true.
I mean, he's dumb enough to do that.
Yeah.
That's really the only reason I could see him going back to King's Landing is that they figured out the North and now he's coming back to figure out the South.
That could be.
You would think that then we'd see a shot of like some fighting and burning here because I don't see Cersei just calmly talking it out and handing over the throne. She didn't hand it over to Dany when Dany made her claim, which is a better claim than Cersei to the throne. So, I mean, she's not the type of person that's just going to abdicate it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man. It's a weird shot. It really throws me off a bit here. It's like, I just don't get this. That's why I said, to me, it's more like they're filming special extended scenes for the Season 7 Blu-ray than Season 8.
Yeah. And then there's the... We get a shot of the mountain too, which is he's not really doing a whole lot, but he's there. So curious to see what his role
like
will
you
be
said,
going
you got
forward, too.
is that DB?
I think so.
Yeah.
I get them mixed up as to which one is which, but yeah, I think it's
Now we
DB
can call
Weiss
him
there.
Mr. Star Wars. How about that? I mean, Disney at this point is like, hey, you can write? Go ahead. You guys Star Wars movies. Movies, plural, not just one. Just fuck it, go ahead.
3 of them, right?
I don't know if they got it. I just know it's movies. They didn't really say it's like a trilogy like Ryan, but they're on for multiple. So, I mean, I wish I knew Kathleen Kennedy at this point in time. I think
all you have to do is tweet at her, and she'll be like, oh, yeah, you can have one.
All right, go for it. Yeah.
There you go.
You seem creative enough. As long as you do everything we tell you, you can do it. If not, see Phil Lord and Chris Miller, whatever.
Yeah.
And what's the other guy's name? They got booted from 9. Trevorrow. Colin Trevorrow.
Oh,
so.
right. Yeah. That's crazy.
All right, gents. Well, I mean, I think we kind of covered the major leaks that have come out last week and this week. Unfortunately, we're as clueless as pretty much every other Game of Thrones fan out there. So while they are leaks, I don't know if they really gave much away outside of this is going to happen. Like, we now know that Winterfell is going to burn and burn bad. I don't know if that's really a shock to anyone considering what's coming for Winterfell. And we know at some point in time, Jon and Cersei end up in King's Landing.
Do we think it's a possibility that the Winterfell burning is a brand vision?
Huh.
Ooh, look at you.
Option number 4.
That is
I think
there.
Well, that's really option number 5 because you presented a compelling one earlier of having the Starks burn it like of their own volition. Right. I kind of like the idea of them using it as like a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, let's try to get as many whites as we can in one go. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it just struck me that maybe it's a brand vision or something like that. But if it's a vision, usually those visions either happened or will happen, so it might end up burning anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could see that being used in a vision over it really happening. See, that's why we keep you around here. It's those deep thoughts right there. That was a good one. Definitely a good one. All right, boys. Anything else that you want to talk Game of Thrones that we might not have thrown in the chat beforehand? I mean, I think we've exhausted our leaks so far, and
yeah,
I'm committed to getting on the mics if anything big comes out from here until 2019. So we'll try to do Game of Thrones talk when it makes sense. But anything we missed?
No, I mean, I think since they're now filming, we're going to start seeing some more photo leaks here and there. So definitely some more to speculate on in the future, I'm sure. Yeah,
so like the other Nick and I with our Star Wars time, which we now do weekly, and this week we're going to do fucking 3. It's starting to drive me nuts. But the Disney's like full swing with Solo now after keeping it hidden for months. But yeah, I mean, if there's something that we're talking about, I think we'll get this Thrones Time team up and running. We'll get on the mics, and we'll get our thoughts out there for you. We appreciate your listens. We really do. Winter is here. Everywhere. It's definitely here in Ohio. Shit sucks. The fucking plows literally plowed my driveway in because I live in a cul-de-sac. So these low-level dopes literally take the entire street's worth of snow and park it right in front of my driveway. It's awesome. Winter's here, right? It's fun. We all live in wintry zones, so we know the trials and tribulations of snow. And the Starks are about to find that out when they have some blue flame rain down upon their head by the Night King, because him and his boys are making their way to Winterfell. And it looks like Winterfell may be burning. So until the next leak, my fellow Game of Thrones fans, we will speak to you then.